Hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome to Big Data London. Welcome to the Y-Axis Theatre. Welcome to an incredibly busy Big Data London. This is my 5th in a row, and I've never seen it as busy, and it's scaled up extremely rapidly since COVID. Why are we here today? I might start by introducing myself very quickly, and then I'll hand you over to our key person for the conversation, who's Ed. My name is Brendan. I look after our marketing, UK, Ireland marketing for Fivetran. And you're probably wondering who Fivetran are. Well, if you haven't seen us at the very front at booth L30, we are the leader in data automation and movement. So we have over 700 connectors to help make your life easy and take away the pain of moving your data from A to B. Sales pitch over, no more of that, so don't worry about it. You're safe from here on in. Just to explain briefly what we'll talk about today, so we're very much talking about unleashing data and that potential from what we do, and indeed what our partners in Databricks do. So this is a better together by three: Oakbrook Finance, Databricks, and Fivetran. So we're really looking to see how we can scale AI insights, and I am saying AI, to have better business outcomes. So what I'll do is I'll hand you over in a second to Ed to introduce himself, and he's going to cover off, or you're going to cover off, Ed, what you do,
Yeah.
and indeed what Oakbrook do, and yeah, we'll kick the conversation off from there.
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. So my name's Ed Ball, and I work for Oakbrook Finance. So we are a lending company. We do personal loans online. We've been around in the market for about 14 years now, and I've been with Oakbrook for 10 of those years nearly. So we've been, it's been quite a long journey, but we're certainly newer to the market than a lot of our competitors. So I guess we describe ourselves as being cloud native, but that doesn't mean that we've got all the answers. We're still struggling with a lot of the challenges that I'm sure everybody else here is struggling with. So Oakbrook has lent, I think, about £1.6 billion of loans to customers since we've been going. So it's a fair chunk of money. We've currently got 125,000 customers with active loans with us. And they either come direct through our website or a lot of the time through our integration partners. So likes of Money Supermarket, Experian, Credit Matcher, ClearScore, that type of journey. And obviously my role there is head of data and security. So that means I run our data engineering team across the UK and India, but I've also got a kind of second hat to wear, which is more security and governance and making sure that our customers can trust what we're doing with their data and that we're staying nice and compliant.
Cool. Just for context and to explain a little bit to people, there is a cliche that data is the new currency, and that, again, it's the best way to drive your positive business outcome. It's about a desilization piece within your organization. Is that something you would agree with as a sentiment, that it's not a cliche, that there is huge value in managing that data to optimization and a scale?
I mean, definitely not a cliche. I guess there wouldn't be so many people here today if data wasn't kind of the big thing. But I think one of my messages for today is that there's nothing new really in data.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new words, there's a lot of new technologies and tools around, but some of the challenges remain the same as they always were, and I think they'll continue that way. And particularly in financial services, although we try to move as quickly as we can, there are certain challenges with compliance and regulation, for example, where we have to be careful how quickly we're moving and try and manage that growth carefully.
Great. Just if I go into a few structured questions to drill down into how you work as a team and obviously within the org in general, and what it says there in the question, can you give those examples where data and the insights driven from data has really shaped a strong business outcome or speed to a decision within your business altogether?
Yeah, so again, I think you'll hear today a lot of vendors, a lot of speakers talking about new tools, new technologies, lots of new things that might seem a bit overwhelming. I think what Oakbrook are trying to do is still bring it back to basics, think about what are the real business problems we're trying to solve, and take it from there. So it's really kind of business problem first, tools and technology second, using them in the right ways to support what we're trying to achieve. So what we've launched recently at Oakbrook is a new debt consolidation product in the market, and we've done that with our partners at Experian and ClearScore. And the reason we've kind of launched that product is because the data told us that there was a problem that we thought we could solve.
Right.
So we looked at the types of loans that people were applying for, what they said they wanted to use the loan for, and a lot of the time they were saying, I'm getting this loan so that I can consolidate my debts into one payment, make it easier and more affordable to get into a good financial situation.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple in hindsight, but just looking at that one data point of what people want the loans for highlighted that there was a gap in the market, but also it meant we had to drill down and understand, well, why are people not already being served for this use case? And what we saw is that although people might say they're taking out a debt consolidation loan, when it actually came down to it, we'd see then from their credit files later that they weren't actually paying off their pre-existing debts. So the question that data then helps us to answer is, well, why was that not happening? Because we can't make a responsible lending decision if we're not sure if people are going to pay off those debts or not.
Can I ask then, if we dig in a little bit, and I suppose a big thing in financial services orgs is speed to decision. So obviously if you're dealing with credit history, lending to a consumer market or any market that indeed, is there a push to have that speed to decision? So like, for example, if you're trying to get lending decisions out the door, pace the business, do your teams have an involvement in that piece of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess if you're not familiar with how kind of price comparison sites and things like that work, I'm sure this is the same in insurance. You'll all be familiar with when you're searching for car insurance or whatever every year. The way it works is like the aggregator, the comparison site, will send off all your data to loads of different providers, in our case lenders, and then we have quite a tight timescale to get our offers back in front of customers. And if you don't get your offer on that panel, you're nowhere. You're not going to get a click because you're not there. Someone else will take the business, or the customer will go away without what they came for. So most of our partners that we work with, we have maybe up to 10 seconds maximum to ingest as much data as possible. And that is obviously credit file data, but also more sources like open banking data and things like that these days. Try and process all of that data, run the models across it to make a decision, and get that back to the customer within a 10-second window.
Well, that's very, very impressive.
And if you've got to do that at scale, that's a big data problem to solve. Yeah.
Okay, and that's a clear outcome from what you do with your data and your architecture. Brilliant. And this question here I find really, really interesting, and it's a question we're always asked in Fivetran. I'm referencing financial institutions here, but I think this is ubiquitous across industry segments. And that question is, how do you deal with fragmented systems, legacy systems, siloed data? What are those challenges you've found and you face? And what have you done to actually overcome them as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, even though we're fairly young as a company, I think we've been through several iterations of our software architecture. We've been pretty flexible with the tools that our business teams can kind of plug in and use. So inevitably, like I'm sure most people, we end up with multiple kind of satellite systems being used in different areas for different operations. And historically, it wasn't too much of a problem because most of our lending decisions, for example, were pretty much just based on the credit file data. Yeah. So maybe one data source at one of the credit bureaus, and that's where most of your data comes from, in addition to what the customer's telling you about themselves. But nowadays, there's so many more data sources that are there, and because of the proliferation of tools that people can see in the market, they want access to that data, right? Yeah. So our challenge as data professionals is how can we quickly and reliably get all those data sources into one place, make it understandable and usable for our end users,
Yeah.
and actually drive some value from it. And that's the challenge that I'm sure everybody's got, because the days of kind of monolithic platforms that that where all your data lives are kind of long gone.
Sure. And can I ask then, with that siloization, what is the impact? Don't want to focus too much on the negative side, but when you are in that silo culture, what is the challenge for engineering teams, for technical teams, and what is the freedom that you get from having a fix to that?
Yeah, so we have only got a very small, I'd say comparatively small data team at Oakbrook. So in fact, serving that many customers, we've only got a hub of around 40, 50 people in the UK. And the data team is obviously a small part of that with a bit of extra resource offshore. So what we're trying to do is let the data teams focus on the areas where they can really add value and help us compete in the market. And what we don't want them doing is spending all their time hand coding data connectors for all these different systems. We don't want them constantly firefighting when those connectors break. And then even once you've got the data into your platform, you don't just want your data team to be moving data from one place to another.
Yeah.
Because very quickly you'll get challenged, quite rightly, by leadership teams saying, well, how is this adding value to the company? Like, data as a whole, people understand its importance, but if you can't tie the actual data you're using and the work that your data team are doing to some real value for the company, particularly as you're trying to grow or scale up, then you just come under increasing pressure as a cost center, as a bottleneck, and no one feels happy about that, and you just kind of get stuck kind of treading water.
Yeah, no, we hear that all the time, so that's a fairly common story that we get. If I focus on the substantive piece, because it's the better together piece that we're really keen to talk about. And with that in mind, that interplay between Fivetran and Databricks, and I'd love to get your perspective on what difference that really has and what it has had from those past, I suppose we'll say, negative experiences and outcomes your teams may have had or the org may have had, versus that working together piece and where things are and where they're progressing now. Those insights were really valuable for us.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, I'm not here to market these products. Brendan might be from Fivetran's perspective, but I'm hopefully what I can do is kind of give a bit more of a real world picture to people that are here. And I think what we've found over quite a few years of playing around with different tools and trying to wrangle, our data sources is you want to just focus on what are the key problems that you're trying to solve. How does the data strategy feed into those problems? And then what are the right tools for the right job? And I think what we found is it's about getting the balance between enough tools that can do the best at the job that you need them to do, but not too many tools that you're trying to manage a really complicated architecture. And as I say complicated architecture, I notice that the diagram comes up on the screen, and that probably now looks really complicated, even though I'm trying to explain that it's actually quite simple. But what these tools working together help us to do are focus on the areas where we can really make a difference with our data team. So on the left-hand side is all the different data sources. You'll all have very similar ones to these. We've got SQL databases, we've got event-driven flows, we've got SaaS systems, etc. I don't want my data team constantly having to hand code all of those different connectors. It's work that somebody's probably already done better than us, for one thing. But also, the way our business works is we'll build a connector for one tool probably, and then 6 months later, the business team will decide they're not happy with that tool, they want to use a different one, and then you've got to start it all over again, right? So Fivetran helps us on the left-hand side of the diagram, getting the data in quickly into our platform. And that's not just quickly, once the data started flowing. It's also getting proof of concepts up and running. Because if you want to test out new ideas, innovate in the market, sometimes you just want to get that data into your platform quickly so that your analysts can start looking at it. So that's where we feed it into Databricks. into like the bronze layer of our medallion architecture, and from there we can process it through to for our analysts or for some of the other kind of reverse ETL use cases on the right. But Databricks then, on top of the data that you've got, it allows us to kind of get that self-service analytics in place. So again, the data engineers don't have to do too much data wrangling. If your analysts can kind of understand the data and get to it easily, then they can start doing some of that transformation work themselves if they're comfortable doing that. And with the right governance, you can move a lot faster without your data team just being that one bottleneck that people are waiting for.
Great. Yeah, I think one of the words there for me was freedom, the managed workloads that really make a difference. And you did touch on the whole AI piece. So just to extrapolate that out a little bit, when we look at AI, and again, specifically in financial services for you, and I think this is an industry-wide thing in general though, where are you seeing those big opportunities, those big wins for your organization? And indeed, how does that impact customer experience, for example, operational efficiency, and indeed management in general?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go through any talk, I don't think, today without AI coming up. And in fact, notable already from what I've seen that maybe last year was all about AI. This year seems to be all about agentic AI, which is kind of an even further step forward on those conversations from last year. I think one of my messages, key takeaways, hopefully for people here, is that you're probably not behind where everybody else is with this stuff. I think there's a lot of talk about some of these tools, and there's definitely opportunities there. So you need to be thinking about what you might want to do with them. But it still comes back to what are the problems that your business is trying to solve, and can AI help you solve those problems? So at Oakbrook, we've started off probably in the same place that a lot of people have, looking at internal processes, operational efficiencies that we can get from layering AI on top of existing tools. So for example, in our application journey, it might be when someone gets referred because we can't quite verify their income, for example.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a journey where they have to submit us some documentation, pay slips, bank statements, that kind of thing. And AI can really help us to process that data and summarize it for our agents a lot quicker, so we can get people through that manual journey with some automated help in a smoother way. So that's one example. But there's also lots of other little operational ones where if you can get the AI tools in front of all of the users of your business in a safe enough way with the right guardrails, let them play around with their own processes and see if it can help them. Because really, you can't just be pushing tools onto people and saying, look, AI is going to solve all your problems. People need to kind of go on that journey themselves and find where it's going to help them. So that's where we've started. We've had some success with efficiencies there, and it's helped us kind of scale operations without adding too many extra heads into the call center, for example. But the big opportunities in the future are really around how you drive impact on the bottom line, and that's what your leadership team, your board, your stakeholders are really going to be interested in. So if you're getting pressure saying, why are we not using more AI? What's our AI strategy? I would say push back, say, well, what is our business strategy? Let me understand how AI can help.
Yep.
Let's put the right guardrails in place and just keep testing. And we'll make a bet that it will pay off in the future, but it doesn't mean we leave behind the basics.
Yeah.
You've got to keep doing the basics and make time for the exploration in AI at the same time. And maybe in a year or two, you might start seeing some more customer-facing agents and that kind of thing, but I still think it's pretty early for financial services to be rolling those things out.
Got it.
And you'll see some companies maybe rolling things out a bit quickly and then pulling them back. So it's getting the right balance really between speed and risk.
I've got it, yeah, and I think that's been touched on twice there in the conversation we've had. Just again, another word that you'll hear as much as AI, I think specifically in the world that you're in, is innovation meeting governance, and that interplay between the two of them. With regulation always front and center, and it being the guardrails around that growth and the operational efficiency piece that we're talking about, How do you balance that off against that drive for innovation against the need to manage compliance?
Yeah, so I was keen to get kind of governance compliance like in the questions today, because I think maybe a lot of people are here because the financial services angle, and you can't get away from the regulation and the compliance. I mean, everybody probably, if they're processing personal data, is going to have to be managing GDPR and that kind of thing. But then when you layer on FCA regulation, etc., it's quite heavy. So I think one thing is you need the support and the understanding of the senior leadership. We're lucky at Oakbrook in that there's a real push on AI, but there's also an understanding that compliance is always front and center. So whenever we come up with our objectives, we try and split them up so that we've always got a balance between things which are going to improve outcomes for our customers and things which are going to improve the commercials for the company. And as we grow, we try and keep those balanced, so we're innovating, but always with the customer in mind. I think another thing is don't treat compliance like it is a stop sign. So it might be a bit of a cliche, but I think if you think about your innovation as like a moving vehicle, your compliance is not saying stop to that innovation. Yeah. It's the brakes on the vehicle which help you go faster.
Yeah.
So, the message for your teams that are less compliance focused, maybe your marketing teams, your product development is, well, look, with the right guardrails in place, we can go faster. So we can innovate quicker than other people, but we know we've got the safety in place, and we know we're not going to lose the trust of our customers and partners when we do that.
Great. That makes sense, and it's very practical to know that. Can I ask, we've got the past, we've got the present, we've got the guardrail piece, compliance, governance, the architecture that you're working off. If we're looking ahead to the future and the challenges, but the opportunity as well, where do you see, or where do you feel excited about how technology can shape the future within financial services, the world that you're in? And indeed, how are you as an organisation, how's Oakbrook itself meeting that challenge as we speak?
So probably touched on some of these already, right? So I mean, I think the opportunities in financial services are to personalize the experience for customers more. Yeah. It's kind of what's one of Oakbrook's driving forces, is that we came into the market knowing that the high street banks have got their kind of quite rigid ways of doing things. They've got a somewhat limited scope of customers that they will lend money to. And if you're outside of that demographic, your opportunities are really limited for getting credit. So our initial play was, okay, maybe we can offer affordable loans using data to make smarter decisions to lend to a wider array of customers where the high street banks are not necessarily serving them. And that opportunity is still there. And the technology and the AI that we see now means that it's an even bigger opportunity. Yep. Like if you can move just a little bit faster than some of the players, the bigger players in the market, or if you are one of the bigger players in the market, then you can serve more customers better, and you can use all of the data and technology to really personalize that customer experience. Yeah. And I think if you use any of the kind of neobank apps, anything like that, you'll already see this stuff coming through where decisions and information that is in front of you is more targeted at you as an individual. Yeah. And helping you to manage your finances better. Got it. And I think ultimately that's where we want to get to. Yeah. It's where every interaction, every data point is being utilized to make the experience better for the customer. Yeah. Give them a better lending decision, so we know what they can afford, we can help them make the right product choice, and then when they've got a loan with us, we can really help them manage their payments. If they get into any difficulty or struggle, we know what's happening, we can help them through that, and it's just super personalized, and you can do it at scale. Like a small company, it's difficult to have that personal experience at scale. With AI now, will let us do that.
And can I ask, with the architecture that you have in place, when you think about the future itself, that architecture, is that fundamental to you achieving success? Is that an optimum for you versus if you didn't have it, or if you were to look back at the architecture you had maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it is right, because like I said before, if you've got a small team particularly, you want them to be focused on realizing those opportunities in the market. You don't want them to be focused on hand coding connectors, just getting data into a data warehouse and then just giving it to analysts. That will get you so far, but you won't be able to move fast enough, I don't believe. And without having all the data in one platform that is AI capable, like Databricks is, you're really going to be struggling to leverage all of the tools and technologies that are coming thick and fast. So if you want to keep up, you don't necessarily need to be deploying these solutions into production straight away, but you do need to have the capabilities and to be thinking about how you gradually and safely build those capabilities, get the data in a good state. If the data is in a good state for your humans first, then it's probably going to be a good state for the AI tools that you can then put in afterwards. And then you can just keep up with the pace of change.
And can I ask a bonus quirky question? Do you see AI, and I'm just thinking of myself, my own life, being a good agent to manage people's personal finances? Or is there a scope for that in the future, and how it can interplay?
I think there probably is, and I think it might come quicker than people expect, but it's not an easy challenge to solve. I mean, for one thing, if you just think like a chatbot, for example, that might be quite an easy use case to deploy in some industries. With us, we'd have to be very careful that we're not giving financial advice where we're not supposed to be, that we're not giving people product offerings that don't exist, for example. But I think absolutely,
it's inevitable.
It's inevitable that it will get in front of customers. You'll start seeing on apps that they're getting more intelligent. They're starting to suggest things that you might be able to do or they're trying to nudge you in the right way to make better decisions. You might already be seeing apps where they're saying, you look like you might be about to miss a payment. Do you want some help with that? It's infinite kind of possibilities where that could go, but there's probably a line somewhere where you reach the right level of comfort with the regulator and with customers, what's helpful without overstepping the boundary. And who knows, it might be at some point you have agents that are actually making financial decisions on behalf of customers, but I think that's going to be quite a way off before people are comfortable with that. But it's a journey that you've got to be open to thinking about how you might get there.
To solidly wrap it up, and just to move it away from all the heavy-handed stuff, one thing we can't control in the world is weather. And is it true that weather can affect payments? Delayed payments, future payments? Does that impact on people's behavior?
It's something we've looked at, definitely, And I guess external data sources is not something we've talked about too much, but I think, if once you've solved the problem of the internal data, think about external data. And we're exactly thinking that. Can we track weather patterns and work out when it's really sunny, do people want more credit because they want to invest in a new conservatory or something? Or on the other hand, are they more likely to miss payments because they're busy partying in the sun? We don't know. It's interesting to think about these things and see what data can tell us.
I find it intriguing and interesting. I think that just about wraps it up, Ed. I really appreciate your time. It's been very, very insightful, and it echoes a lot of what we hear in Fivetran. We don't have time for questions. I think we've gone over time slightly. Chatterbox is here. But we appreciate you all listening in. If you do want to find out any more, obviously Ed will be around a little bit after this. You can go to the Fivetran stand, L30, right at the other end of the auditorium. We have a hands-on lab as well, so if you want to take part and be actively involved, please do. And our friends and partners, Databricks, are also in the auditorium. Otherwise, I'd love if you could give a round of applause to Ed for his contribution.
Thank you.